Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. The story of the 1973 1-cent coin begins with something far more powerful than a small copper disc. It begins with the overlooked truth that sometimes the smallest objects in our pockets hold histories larger than entire books. When you pick up a 1973 penny today, most people see a simple coin, lightweight, worn by circulation, carrying the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the majestic Lincoln Memorial on the back. But the real value of this coin, the deeper meaning behind its weight, its design, its production, and the untold stories hidden inside its metal surface, transforms it into something far grander than a fraction of a dollar. That 1-cent coin suddenly becomes a silent witness from 1973, a year filled with immense cultural shifts, economic changes, political turning points, and industrial advancements, all of which indirectly shaped the coins minted during that time. But before you can even understand why collectors around the world are obsessing over the 1973 penny, why some examples have shot into the realm of fantasy-like values reaching into the hundreds of millions, you must first understand how the coin itself came to be. The copper that makes up the coin has its own journey, mined from deep layers of earth, melted, purified, rolled into sheets, punched into blanks, heated, struck with millions of pounds of force, and finally stamped with the classic image that Americans have carried in their pockets for more than a century. That journey from raw metal to official U.S. currency gives even the simplest penny a kind of quiet nobility. The 1973 penny was struck at 3 major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins bear no mint mark, the Denver coins carry a small D, and the San Francisco coins include the elegant S. Each mint distributed millions, yet within these millions, tiny variations occurred, microscopic differences, minting flaws, or striking anomalies that collectors spend decades hunting for. And those rare errors, when they align perfectly with condition, originality, and rarity criteria, are what turn an ordinary piece of copper into something that could theoretically approach values nobody would expect from a coin worth 1 cent. The weight of the 1973 penny is one of its defining features, 3.11 grams, composed primarily of copper with a small percentage of zinc and tin. In the modern world, pennies weigh much less, switching to a copper-plated zinc format in 1982. But the pre-1982 pennies like the 1973 issue have a heavy, solid, old-world feel that collectors love. That weight, 3.11 grams, is not just a number. It reflects the time when the U.S. Mint produced coins from real metal rather than cost-cutting composites. That additional weight carries with it the feeling of authenticity, and that authenticity is one of the reasons early 70s pennies have continued to attract attention. The design on the coin is one of America's most iconic, Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side. Brenner created this design in 1909 for the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. More than 6 decades later, the same design continued, linking Americans across generations through the familiarity of the coin. Every line on Lincoln's face, every curve in the lettering, every subtle detail in the jacket, the beard, and the profile carries artistic intent. And on the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial sits as a symbol of national unity, strength, and deep-rooted American identity. If you look closely, far more closely than the average person ever would, there is even an engraving of the statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. Most people have no idea that this tiny detail exists, but coin collectors have admired it for decades. That subtle level of craftsmanship reminds you that even something intended for mass circulation can be a piece of functional art. The economic conditions in 1973 played an indirect but crucial role in the coinage of that year. Inflation was rising, the oil crisis was developing, and the overall value of raw materials was shifting. This meant that pennies began costing more to produce than their actual monetary worth, but the government kept producing them because the American economy relied heavily on small denomination transactions at the time. Every store counter, every vending machine, every cash register was filled with coins like the 1973 penny. People carried them daily. Children collected them in jars. Adults tossed them into drawers. Pennies were everywhere, and yet, because they were everywhere, people rarely stopped to notice them. It is precisely this commonness that hides the extraordinary rarity of certain variations. Every tiny difference matters: the sharpness of the strike, the clarity of the lettering, the evenness of the fields, the strength of the minmark, the coloration of the copper, the preservation of the metal, the absence of scratches or contact marks. These factors determine whether the coin remains ordinary or becomes extraordinary. A single example with nearly flawless surfaces could become a star among collectors. Combine that with an extremely rare error, like a double die strike, a die crack, a broad strike, a clip planchet mistake, or even an off-center strike, and suddenly the coin becomes one of a kind. When rarity meets perfection, the value can become limitless in the collector market. The belief that a 1973 penny could reach a market valuation into the hundreds of millions comes from a combination of collector mythology, auction surprises, and viral stories involving penny prototypes, unique minting errors, or extraordinary discoveries in private collections. You might think it is impossible for such a small object to carry such a massive value, but when there is only one example of a particular error in existence, the value becomes whatever the most passionate, wealthy collector is willing to pay. Human fascination drives the price, not just the metal content. Now imagine for a moment a perfect, untouched, museum-quality 1973 penny with a historically significant minting error that exists nowhere else in the world. A coin so flawless that under 5x, 10x, even 40x magnification, collectors cannot find a single imperfection in its surfaces. A coin preserved with such care that its original mint luster, the bright, glowing, swirling copper sheen that appears the instant a coin leaves the dies, remains intact half a century later. A coin like that becomes less of an object and more of a historical artifact. The value skyrockets not because of copper, not because of weight, not because of denomination, but because of the human desire to own something truly singular, something that no one else will ever have. The role of professional grading in this journey is critical. A 1973 penny graded at MS60 is worth almost nothing. But a 1973 penny graded MS68 or MS69 becomes astonishingly rare. The jump in value from one grade to another is exponential. Collectors chase perfection because perfection is almost impossible. That impossibility is what fuels demand. And demand fuels value. When demand and rarity meet, even a penny can theoretically reach values people would otherwise associate with luxury homes, yachts, or rare paintings. The coin symbol, the simple 1 cent, combined with the iconic imagery of the Lincoln Memorial, makes the 1973 penny instantly recognizable. The lettering, United States of America, arches above the memorial like a declaration, and the motto, E pluribus unum, rests above the building as a reminder of unity through diversity. These symbolic elements create emotional importance. A collector does not simply see a coin, they see an artifact of American history. The emotional and historical significance of owning something that millions once touched, but preserved in a form nobody else possesses, contributes to the legendary valuations surrounding the rarest examples. But the real question is the story behind each individual 1973 penny. Who carried it? Did it pass through the hands of a factory worker, a farmer, a soldier, a student, or a traveler? Did a child save it in a piggy bank? Did someone drop it behind a sofa where it remained untouched for decades? Did it sit in a mint-sealed bag untouched since the day it was struck? Each coin has a journey. Each coin carries an unseen narrative. That unseen narrative is what gives a rare 1973 penny its magic. The idea that a coin minted in 1973 could remain pristine for more than 50 years, avoiding scratches, wear, fingerprints, moisture, corrosion, exposure, and human handling, is almost miraculous. That miracle is what collectors desperately chase. When we move deeper into the world of the 1973 1-cent coin, the story becomes more complex, more layered, and more fascinating than the average collector ever imagines. Because while most people see a penny as nothing more than a tool for small change, the truth is far more epic. Every tiny curve of metal, every microscopic indentation, every faintly struck letter from the year 1973 carries an entire world of meaning that stretches far beyond simple monetary value. The year itself plays a critical role. 1973 was not an ordinary moment in U.S. history. The country was navigating shifting political power, economic uncertainty, and changing industrial technologies. And yet, amid all of this, the United States Mint continued operating with mechanical precision, striking millions of pennies that would quietly enter circulation and begin their decades-long journeys through the hands of millions of Americans. The machines pressing these coins were massive engineering achievements. Long before digital automation and ultra-modern robotics became standard, minting relied heavily on mechanical force, rotating chem systems, steel dies, and perfectly controlled metal temperatures. Picture the inside of a mint in 1973, the roaring machines, the deafening clank of metal striking metal, the rhythmic thunder of high-tonnage presses slamming copper planchets with thousands of pounds of pressure. Every second, countless pennies were produced, one after another, each one a duplicate, at least in theory. But the mint never guaranteed perfect uniformity. Human oversight, machine wear, misalignments, die deterioration, and metal inconsistencies ensured that no two pennies were ever exactly identical. Those tiny differences are what collectors obsess over. A slight doubling in the lettering, a smudge in Lincoln's hairline, a weakness in the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, a subtle crack in the die, these details separate a common penny from an extraordinary one. And in the world of coin collecting, extraordinary equals valuable. Many casual collectors underestimate how microscopic these differences can be. Some require high-powered magnification to detect. Some require the perfect angle of light. Some require years of experience to spot instantly. Collectors dedicate lifetimes to learning these details because, hidden among billions of coins, a single rare variation could be the discovery of a lifetime. Now imagine the weight again: 3.11 grams of copper. It sounds simple, but that weight is symbolic. Copper pennies minted before 1982 have a density and richness that modern zinc pennies can never replicate. When you hold a 1973 penny between your fingers, you feel the solidity of real metal, a tiny piece of earth forged into a national symbol. Copper has been used in currency for thousands of years, and the U.S. continued that proud tradition throughout the early 1970s. That tactile experience, the coolness of the metal, the heaviness compared to modern coins, creates a physical connection to history. This is what collectors love. Coins are not just visual artifacts, they are objects you can feel, objects that carry the touch of countless people across decades. The design of the 1973 penny also creates a powerful emotional impact. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's portrait represents one of the most iconic leaders in American history. Victor David Brenner's design captures Lincoln with a quiet dignity, a calm strength, and a timeless presence. Over 100 years after it debuted, this design still holds its power. The slight angle of the head, the finely sculpted beard, the thoughtful expression, all of these artistic details have turned the penny into one of the most recognizable coins in the world. Millions of people who never studied art or sculpture still recognize Brenner's work instantly. This is the power of design that lasts. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands as a monument both to the president and to American ideals. Every line of the structure, every column, every shadow, every beam is sculpted in miniature. When you look closely, closer than most people ever will, you see that even the statue of Lincoln inside the memorial is included. The designers did not cut corners. They wanted this coin to be a miniature masterpiece, something that combined functionality with artistic expression. And because of this, collectors today treasure the tiny details that define the 1973 penny. But the real intrigue of this coin does not lie only in its design or its material. It lies in the anomalies, the rare mistakes that occurred during minting. These mistakes were never intentional. They were accidents, often small ones, but when they happened under the right conditions, they created coins that now command unbelievable prices. For example, a double die error occurs when the die, the metal tool used to strike the coin, shifts slightly between strikes during the hubbing process. This can result in doubling in the lettering, the date, or the design elements. If such an error occurred in 1973 and survived in pristine condition, its value could skyrocket. Another possibility is a planchet error, where the metal blank used to strike the coin was improperly cut, unevenly shaped, or composed of the wrong alloy. Such errors are rare, and when they occur on older coins, their survival into modern times becomes even rarer. A 1973 penny struck on the wrong metal, like a leftover steel planchet, an aluminum experimental blank, or a foreign coin blank, would be extraordinarily valuable. In fact, some of these hypothetical errors could easily become multi-million-dollar items in the right auction environment. Collectors also search for off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and variations in the mint mark. The D of Denver and the S of San Francisco can sometimes appear slightly different due to multiple hand-punched die varieties. These subtle mint mark differences can push values significantly higher. And in a scenario where only one example of a particular variety exists, the value could soar to unimaginable heights. This brings us back to the staggering valuation of $266 million. At first glance, this number seems unrealistic. But in the world of collecting, value is not based purely on logic. It is driven by desire, rarity, competition, and the emotional weight of owning something no one else can have. Consider the world's rarest stamps, paintings, gemstones, or historical documents. Many of them are small, simple objects, yet they are valued in the hundreds of millions because they represent something irreplaceable. A 1-cent coin from 1973, if it existed as a one-of-one flawless specimen with an unprecedented error or prototype status, would have the same theoretical potential. This is how collectors think. Rarity is everything, and the hunt is never-ending. Every day, new collectors pick up magnifying glasses, coin scales, digital microscopes, and begin searching through old jars, inherited collections, and pocket change. The search continues in basements, garages, thrift stores, antique markets, estate sales, auctions, and safety deposit boxes. People search because the stories of life-changing discoveries are real. There have been cases where someone found a rare coin in a jar of old pennies and sold it for the price of a luxury car or a house. These discoveries fuel the imagination of millions of collectors, inspiring them to search deeper, to examine more carefully, to keep believing that the next coin they flip over might be the rare treasure everyone else overlooked. The 1973 penny plays into this dream perfectly. It is common enough that millions of people still have them, yet old enough that pristine examples are rare. The combination of accessibility and potential rarity makes it irresistibly attractive. Someone could have a 1973 penny right now and not even realize the unbelievable value it carries. That possibility alone keeps collectors awake at night. It creates the thrill, the excitement, the endless obsession. The journey of the 1973 1-cent coin grows even more intriguing when you begin to explore the human dimension that surrounds it. Coins are minted in factories, but they live their real lives in the hands of people. The 1973 penny in particular lived at a time when America was changing rapidly, industries shifting, families moving, technology emerging, and national identity transforming. Each penny minted that year carries the silent echoes of that era. And understanding the stories woven into these coins opens a window into the heart of American history itself. When someone picks up a 1973 penny today, they're not only holding a piece of copper, they're holding the touch of countless unknown lives, moments, transactions, and memories that stretched across half a century. To understand what makes this coin so fascinating, you have to imagine the world of 1973 in vivid detail. The country was emerging from the turbulent 60s, stepping into a decade filled with uncertainty and transition. People were watching the news with concern, hearing about political shifts, economic challenges, and cultural transformations. Inflation was beginning to rise, and the cost of everyday life was slowly increasing. And while these events may seem distant from the world of coin collecting, they played a subtle but powerful role in shaping the coins of that year. Every economic shift affects the mint. Every political decision affects production. And every cultural change influences how people treat and preserve currency. The U.S. Mint, during 1973, was working relentlessly to meet the national demand for coins. Billions of transactions depended on them. Millions of cash registers were operating with pennies as an essential part of everyday commerce. From small diners to major supermarkets, pennies were being counted, sorted, rolled, and exchanged every moment of every day. The importance of the 1-cent coin cannot be underestimated. Even though it was the lowest denomination, it served as a foundation for pricing, accounting, and commerce. The penny was the building block of the American financial system. Without pennies, the economic rhythm of 1973 would have been different. Inside the minting facilities, teams of skilled workers monitored enormous coining presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute. The noise was overwhelming, the constant pounding, the metallic clashing, the vibrations through the concrete floors. These machines were engineered to run continuously, creating a river of freshly minted coins. And within this river, among the millions that looked identical, a few rare anomalies were born. A die might shift microscopically. A planchet might be off by a fraction of a gram. A strike might hit a few degrees off center. A mint mark might be faintly misaligned. These are the differences collectors devote their lives to finding, because within the world of coins, perfection is rare. And rarity is power. That is why collectors obsess over the 1973 penny in ways that outsiders may not understand. The coin is simple, humble, and familiar, but within that simplicity lies enormous potential. A 1973 penny could be the rarest in existence. It could be the only known example of a particular minting phenomenon. It could be the single piece that changes a collector's entire life. That possibility alone creates a gravitational pull that enthusiasts cannot resist. Collectors know that the value of a coin is not only measured in dollars. Value is measured in story, character, preservation, condition, and origin. A perfectly preserved 1973 penny with its original glowing red color has a magnetic presence. That bright copper tone tells the story of a coin that avoided human touch, avoided pockets, avoided the wear and tear of decades. It might have been sealed in a mint bag since the day it was struck. It might have been part of a collector's estate, untouched for 50 years. That original luster, the swirling patterns created during the striking process, remains one of the most beautiful features of any copper coin. That luster is fragile. Once it is touched or rubbed, it disappears forever. That's why coins that preserve it become almost mythical. A coin like that becomes a window into time. Imagine a 1973 penny sitting in a mint roll that was never opened. Time passes. The world changes. Technology evolves. People grow older. Children grow up. Families move. Cities transform. But the coin inside that roll remains exactly the same as the day it left the mint. No fingerprint touches it. No scratch marks its surface. No corrosion changes its color. It is frozen in the past, unchanged by the outside world. And when someone finally opens that roll, decades later, they are not just opening paper, they are opening history. They are looking directly into 1973. The deeper you travel into the story of the 1973 1-cent coin, the more you realize that its journey is not limited to metal, minting, or value. The real magic lies in the invisible network of moments, and lives the coin touched as it traveled across decades. A coin minted in 1973 didn't just slip into circulation, it became part of the economic bloodstream of an entire nation. It moved silently from hand to hand, silently witnessing moments both ordinary and extraordinary. When collectors examine the coin today, they may focus on its sharpness, its luster, its surfaces, and its rarity, but the invisible history it carries is just as powerful. To understand this deeper dimension, imagine the very first moments of a 1973 penny's life. Freshly struck, still warm from the heat of the massive press, glowing with vibrant mint red, the coin dropped from the die and tumbled into a large bin filled with thousands of other freshly minted pennies. That sound, the clinking of new coins, must have been overwhelming as tens of thousands of identical pieces fell in rapid succession. The bins filled quickly, and workers moved them with forklifts, tipping them into rolling drums, conveyor belts, or sorting devices. These bins were heavy, thousands of pounds of solid copper coins stacked and transported for packaging. Some pennies from 1973 went straight into bank bags, heavy canvas sacks that contained thousands of coins and were tied off with thick cords. These bags were loaded into armored trucks, stored in vaults, or distributed to banks across the country. Others were placed into rolls, paper-wrapped tubes of 50 coins each, that were handed out to customers, business owners, shopkeepers, and cashiers. Some were included in special mint sets intended for collectors, sealed in protective plastic packs. But no one at the time thought that any of these pennies would one day be considered rare treasures. For them, it was simply a routine year of coinage. But life outside the mint is unpredictable. A penny that left the mint in 1973 could have ended up anywhere. It may have been a child's lucky penny, tucked into a pocket during a school day. It may have jingled in the pocket of a factory worker during a long shift. It may have been used by a mother buying groceries or by a soldier returning home from service. It may have sat in a tip jar at a diner, or in a change drawer at a gas station, or in a church collection plate. The coin could have traveled across states, across coasts, across decades, each movement leaving invisible marks on its story. This is why most 1973 pennies show signs of life: scratches, tiny nicks, dulling of color, marks from contact with other coins. These marks are the fingerprints of time. They tell the story of circulation. They reflect the journey of a coin that was never meant to be preserved. That journey is beautiful, but collectors know that the rarest examples are the ones that somehow avoided this fate entirely. This brings us back to the extraordinary possibility of finding a perfect 1973 penny, one untouched, flawless, glowing with original red luster. How does such a coin survive for 50 years without entering circulation? The answer lies in rare accidents of preservation. Sometimes a bag remains sealed in a vault for decades. Sometimes a roll is forgotten in a drawer. Sometimes a collector purchases mint sets and never opens them. These rare safekeeping events freeze a coin in time. And when someone discovers it decades later, it becomes a window into the minting world of 1973, a coin that looks exactly as it did on the day it was born. The design of the 1973 penny plays a role here, because a perfect strike on this coin is breathtaking. When Lincoln's portrait is razor sharp, when the date and lettering appear crisp, when the fields of the coin reflect light in soft, swirling waves of luster, the penny feels almost alive. The craftsmanship of Victor David Brenner shines through in ways that worn coins can never show. The wrinkles on Lincoln's face, the delicate separation of hair strands, the smooth curve of the cheek, the fine definition of the coat, all these elements display the skill of early 20th century sculpting that continues to define American coinage even in the 1970s. Turning the coin around, the Lincoln Memorial becomes equally stunning on a well-preserved example. The columns stand tall and straight, each one cleanly defined. The steps show subtle lines. The inscriptions are crisp. And the tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, visible only under magnification, is perfectly formed. When a collector sees these details preserved so precisely, they realize they are looking at something that should not exist in this condition after so many years. That sense of impossibility is what fuels the obsession and drives values through the roof. Collectors often compare the search for the perfect 1973 penny to archaeology. They are not just gathering coins, they are uncovering artifacts. Every box, every jar, every estate sale holds the possibility of discovery. And the thrill of that possibility is addictive. People spend years searching through rolls, jars, and coin collections for that one extraordinary piece. The idea of a 1973 penny reaching the theoretical value of $266 million becomes more believable when you consider the psychology behind these searches. Humans place unmeasurable value on uniqueness. When something exists in only one example, its value is no longer defined by market logic. It is defined by human desire. A collector with unlimited resources does not compete based on financial restraint. They compete based on passion. They compete based on legacy. They compete based on the opportunity to own something no one else ever will. This is why rare coins sell for prices that seem unimaginable. They tap into the primal human instinct to collect, to preserve, to control, to possess something irreplaceable. The 1973 penny becomes not just a coin but a symbol of this instinct. The rarer it becomes, the more mythical its value grows. But the true beauty of the 1973 penny lies deeper still, in the everyday lives that shaped its existence. Imagine a penny passing from one generation to another inside a small family. A grandfather might have kept it in a jar, thinking nothing of it. A parent might have found it years later and slipped it into a drawer. A child might come across it decades afterward and wonder why it looks so different from modern pennies. That simple moment of curiosity becomes the spark that ignites fascination. The child begins collecting. They learn about mint marks, errors, varieties, grading scales. The coin becomes a seed that grows into a lifelong passion. Coins have that magic, the power to inspire. The 1973 penny carries this magic strongly. Its classic design, rich copper color, historical context, and potential for rarity make it one of the most captivating coins in modern U.S. history. It is familiar yet mysterious, common yet potentially priceless, simple yet full of depth. It perfectly represents the duality of the collecting world, where everyday objects transform into treasures for those who know how to look at them. The story of the 1973 1-cent coin grows ever more fascinating when we consider the human obsession with perfection and rarity. Coins are not just currency, they are time capsules. They carry the fingerprints of history, the story of industry, and the traces of countless lives that touched them, even if unknowingly. Every circulation mark, every tiny scratch, every faint discoloration tells a story. And the 1973 penny, though seemingly ordinary, has the power to connect us to an era long past, a moment frozen in time when the world was navigating change, uncertainty, and transformation. To understand the significance of this coin, it is important to remember that 1973 was a year of global and domestic transitions. In the United States, the country was dealing with the aftermath of the Vietnam War, the Watergate scandal was beginning to unfold, and economic challenges such as rising inflation and shifts in industrial productivity were impacting daily life. While these events may seem far removed from a small coin, they indirectly influenced how currency circulated, how people handled money, and ultimately how coins were preserved or lost. The 1973 penny is a silent witness to all these moments, moving from one hand to another, unnoticed by most, yet part of the fabric of society. Inside the U.S. Mint during 1973, a quiet but relentless machine of production was at work. Massive coining presses stamped millions of coins every day, each press producing a rapid cascade of metal, striking the familiar Lincoln profile onto perfectly shaped copper planchets. Workers monitored the presses closely, ensuring that each coin met strict standards, yet even in this highly controlled environment, anomalies occurred. Minute shifts in dies, slight variations in metal composition, or even human oversight could produce a coin with a flaw that would later become highly coveted by collectors. These anomalies are what create the rarity that drives extraordinary valuations. The weight of the 1973 penny, 3.11 grams, seems almost trivial, yet it carries profound significance. Unlike the modern pennies made primarily of zinc, pre-1982 pennies are composed almost entirely of copper, giving them a density and tactile quality that collectors adore. The feel of a copper penny is distinct, a small, solid weight that communicates authenticity and a connection to the past. When you hold a 1973 penny, you are holding a piece of material history, a fragment of a time when currency was heavier, more substantial, and imbued with an inherent value beyond its face denomination. The artistry of the coin is equally compelling. Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln graces the obverse side, a design first introduced in 1909 for the centennial of Lincoln's birth. More than 60 years later, the 1973 penny continued to carry this timeless image. The subtle details, the fine lines of Lincoln's hair, the expression in his eyes, the contours of his cheek and chin, demonstrate the skill and precision of the original sculptor and the enduring legacy of classical coin artistry. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands as a testament to the nation's values, its columns and steps rendered with astonishing fidelity, and within it, the miniature statue of Lincoln himself remains perfectly defined. Even the smallest details have significance for collectors, who study every millimeter for signs of clarity, wear, or error. collectors place enormous importance on condition. A 1973 penny can exist in millions of ordinary circulated examples, but it is the uncirculated, flawless coins that truly capture the imagination. When a coin retains its original red luster, with vibrant copper tones untouched by the grime and friction of decades of handling, it becomes a rare gem. This original color, combined with sharp detail and absence of wear, transforms an ordinary penny into a treasure. These coins are scarce because so few could avoid decades of human contact and environmental factors. Their scarcity fuels the desire and drives astronomical valuations. Errors and anomalies further amplify this allure. A doubled die, an off-center strike, a planchet flaw, or an unusual mintmark variation can turn a regular penny into something extraordinary. Some of these errors are so subtle that only the most experienced numismatists can detect them under magnification. Others are dramatic, obvious even to casual observers. The existence of such anomalies, particularly when paired with perfect preservation, opens the door to theoretical valuations that stretch the imagination. A coin that is truly unique, combining perfect condition with a minting error that exists nowhere else, could, in theory, command prices in the hundreds of millions. This is not simply about metal or denomination, it is about rarity, desire, and human fascination with owning something that no one else can possess. The story of the 1973 penny is also about the extraordinary journey coins take through life. Many were lost, spent, forgotten, or damaged. Some were collected carefully and preserved, while others sat unnoticed in jars, drawers, or boxes for decades. Each coin carries the imprint of its path, tiny scratches, subtle dents, variations in color from environmental exposure. These imperfections, though common, tell a story of a coin's passage through history. But the rarest coins, the ones that survive without any of these marks, become legendary because they defy time and circumstance. The human element in coin collecting cannot be overstated. Collectors are not merely interested in the object itself, they are drawn to the story, the history, and the thrill of discovery. A 1973 penny could appear in a forgotten collection, a long sealed mint roll, or even a household jar of change. The possibility of finding a coin that is not only rare but potentially unique creates excitement that drives collectors to search relentlessly. Each potential discovery represents not only a financial opportunity but a connection to the past, a tangible piece of history, and a personal triumph over chance and time. The emotional resonance of the 1973 penny is amplified by nostalgia. For many collectors, these coins are reminders of childhood, of jars of pennies saved from allowances, of trips to the store, of playing with coins in games, of the simple fascination with small pieces of metal that could carry so much meaning. A 1973 penny connects generations, linking the experiences of grandparents, parents, and children through the simple act of holding and observing a coin. The tactile sensation, the weight in the hand, and the visual beauty all contribute to the coin's enduring allure. In the market of rare coins, perception and desire drive value as much as any objective factor. While the copper content of a penny may be minimal in terms of monetary value, the intangible qualities, the history, rarity, condition, and uniqueness, create a psychological value that can exceed imagination. Collectors are often willing to pay extraordinary sums for the certainty of owning something that is both historically significant and impossible to replace. This is the driving force behind the theoretical valuation of a perfect 1973 penny reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. It is a reflection of human passion, competitive desire, and the awe inspired by rarity. Even as coins are evaluated scientifically, with magnification, grading scales, scales to measure weight, and chemical analysis to verify composition, the story behind them remains equally important. A coin is not merely an object of metal. It is a story frozen in time, a witness to history, and a participant in human life. Each scratch, each mark, each glint of original luster tells a chapter of a journey spanning decades. Collectors, historians, and enthusiasts all recognize that value is as much about narrative as it is about the physical object itself. The allure of the 1973 penny is further amplified by the continuous evolution of numismatics. With advances in technology, collectors today have access to high-powered magnification, detailed databases, online auction records, and global networks of enthusiasts. These tools make it possible to identify rare variations, compare coins, and authenticate anomalies with a precision previously impossible. Every new discovery is documented, shared, and sometimes sold, creating an ever-expanding mythology around coins like the 1973 penny. The coin's legend grows with each passing year, fueled by research, discovery, and the stories of those who encounter it. The allure of the 1973 1-cent coin extends far beyond its material, its design, or even its theoretical value. What truly captivates collectors and enthusiasts alike is the story of survival, the journey through time, and the intricate connection between human history and this seemingly ordinary piece of currency. Every coin, no matter how common, has a story to tell, but the 1973 penny, when preserved in exceptional condition or exhibiting rare anomalies, becomes a living testament to half a century of history, economy, and art. Its power lies not only in its copper composition, but in the invisible threads connecting it to millions of hands, countless transactions, and the shifting landscape of American society in the 1970s. Imagine, for a moment, the process of how a single 1973 penny might have survived untouched for decades. From the moment it left the mint, the coin faced innumerable risks: circulation, wear, corrosion, accidental loss, improper storage, and even the simple passage of time. Yet some pennies endured, sealed within mint rolls, tucked away in safes, or carefully preserved by collectors who recognized their potential significance. These fortuitous circumstances are extraordinarily rare. Most coins are ordinary. They are spent, bent, scratched, dulled, and faded by the hands of countless people. But the few that survive in pristine condition, retaining original red luster, sharp strike detail, and perfect surfaces, become the objects of obsession for collectors, historians, and investors alike. The design of the 1973 penny contributes enormously to its enduring fascination. On the obverse side, the profile of Abraham Lincoln remains a powerful and evocative image. Victor David Brenner's design captures Lincoln in a way that transcends time, a face that conveys dignity, wisdom, and quiet strength. Each fine line in the hair, the curve of the cheek, the subtle contour of the jawline, and the expression in the eyes are elements of artistry that continue to engage collectors over a century after their creation. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial stands as a miniature architectural marvel. The columns, steps, inscriptions, and the tiny statue of Lincoln within the memorial represent a dedication to both design precision and national symbolism. Collectors often spend hours examining these details under magnification, marveling at the precision of the minting process and the artistry that has remained unchanged since the coin's inception. Yet, while design and artistry are essential, anomalies are what elevates certain 1973 pennies into legendary status. Minting errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, die cracks, or unusual mint marks, transform ordinary coins into rare, coveted specimens. These anomalies were accidental, created by tiny misalignments or defects during production. But in the collector's world, they are priceless. A single penny that exhibits an error found in no other known coin can become the centerpiece of a collection, fetching extraordinary prices at auction. In some theoretical circumstances, such coins, if uncirculated and perfectly preserved, could command valuations in the hundreds of millions of dollars, driven by rarity, uniqueness, and collector demand rather than intrinsic metal value. The psychological aspect of collecting adds another layer to this phenomenon. Collectors are not merely acquiring objects, they are acquiring connections to history, unique artifacts, and stories frozen in time. The rarity and perfection of a coin amplify its desirability. Humans are instinctively drawn to uniqueness, the opportunity to possess something singular, irreplaceable, and historically significant drives competition, sometimes to extreme levels. This is why theoretical valuations for a flawless, one-of-a-kind 1973 penny can reach astronomical figures. The coin transcends its function as currency, becoming a symbol of legacy, prestige, and mastery of the numismatic world. The copper composition of the 1973 penny also contributes to its fascination. At 3.11 grams, these pre-1982 pennies are heavier, denser, and more substantial than modern zinc-based coins. Copper ages in captivating ways, developing shades of red, brown, and orange over time. These subtle variations, often influenced by storage conditions, handling, and environmental exposure, add uniqueness to each coin. A penny that retains its original mint red hue is extraordinarily rare. Collectors prize these coins because the vibrant copper coloration indicates that the coin has avoided circulation, wear, and environmental damage for decades, preserving the original minting conditions as a testament to the coin's age and history. The 1973 penny is also a mirror of economic and societal history. At a time when pennies were essential for everyday commerce, these coins circulated through households, businesses, schools, and factories. They were part of the daily life of millions, a medium of exchange that facilitated countless transactions. And yet, they were often overlooked, tossed in drawers or jars, forgotten for years. The coins that survived in pristine condition are thus a combination of chance, careful preservation, and circumstance. Their survival stories add to their allure, transforming simple copper discs into historical artifacts. Collectors' fascination with the 1973 penny is further intensified by the continuous evolution of numismatics. Advances in technology, high-powered magnification, precision scales, chemical composition analysis, digital photography, and global databases allow collectors to scrutinize coins with unprecedented accuracy. Detailed records of auction results, minting anomalies, and population reports inform the market, creating excitement around discoveries. Each time a rare or unique coin is documented, the mythology of the 1973 penny grows, expanding its reputation and increasing its desirability among collectors, historians, and investors alike. The emotional resonance of the 1973 penny is equally important. For many collectors, these coins evoke memories of childhood, family traditions, and the simple fascination with small objects carrying stories far larger than their size suggests. A 1973 penny can connect generations, linking grandparents, parents, and children through the simple act of holding, observing, and preserving. The coin embodies continuity, history, and a tangible connection to a time long past, allowing collectors to feel a sense of participation in both history and heritage. Beyond its aesthetic, historical, and emotional value, the 1973 penny represents a unique intersection of rarity, condition, and market dynamics. A coin that combines perfect preservation, mint-red luster, flawless strike, and an extraordinary error becomes more than an artifact, it becomes a legend. Its value is no longer dictated by copper content, denomination, or even typical collector interest. Instead, its worth is determined by human fascination, competitive desire, and the extraordinary circumstances that allow something so small to become so powerful in the imagination and the marketplace. The 1973 1-cent coin is more than metal. It is a vessel of history, a bearer of stories, and a symbol of human fascination with rarity and preservation. While most people pass by these coins without a second thought, collectors see a universe contained within a single copper disc. Each penny minted in 1973 carries the legacy of its era, a time of economic shifts, cultural changes, and political developments, and yet it also carries the intimate, invisible traces of the lives it touched. From the moment a 1973 penny left the U.S. Mint, it began a journey filled with chance, movement, and survival, a journey that determines whether it remains a simple coin or transforms into a legend. Consider the extraordinary circumstances required for a 1973 penny to remain in pristine condition. Millions of these coins were minted and immediately placed into circulation. They were spent, exchanged, lost, forgotten, and recovered. Many fell victim to scratches, nicks, wear, and corrosion. Only a select few avoided the friction of daily life. These survivors were often hidden in mint rolls, sealed mint sets, or collections carefully preserved by someone who recognized their potential or, perhaps, simply kept them by chance. Over 50 years, the survival rate of coins in perfect, mint-red condition is incredibly low. This rarity is what makes these pennies not just valuable, but legendary. The artistry of the coin further elevates its status. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse is not simply a portrait, it is an enduring piece of American iconography. Each detail, the fine lines in Lincoln's hair, the defined contours of his face, the subtle expression of determination and wisdom, is preserved with precision on the best specimens. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, with its detailed columns, steps, inscriptions, and miniature statue of Lincoln inside, transforms a small piece of copper into a miniature work of art. Collectors spend hours examining these details, appreciating the craftsmanship, and noting any anomalies that could signify extreme rarity or historical significance. Errors and minting anomalies add an entirely new dimension to the 1973 penny. A doubled die, an off-center strike, a die crack, or a planchet flaw can instantly elevate a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. These mistakes, while unintentional, are highly prized because they are unique snapshots of the minting process. A single penny with a rare error, preserved in flawless condition, could become the centerpiece of a collection, commanding astronomical attention and value. In extreme hypothetical scenarios, such coins, especially those with unique anomalies not found in any other known examples, could reach theoretical valuations in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The combination of perfect condition, rare error, and historical significance creates a level of desirability that transcends logic or intrinsic metal value. Collectors' obsession with the 1973 penny is fueled by both its physical qualities and the narratives surrounding it. A coin may have passed through countless hands, been involved in innumerable transactions, and traveled across states and cities. Each interaction, whether ordinary or significant, contributes to its story. Yet the coins that capture the imagination are those that avoided wear, damage, and exposure. Their survival seems almost miraculous, and each discovery brings excitement akin to unearthing a hidden treasure. The search itself becomes part of the appeal, a quest to find a piece of history that has endured the unpredictability of time and human handling. The psychological and emotional elements of collecting cannot be overstated. The desire to own something rare, unique, and historically significant drives collectors to extraordinary lengths. Competitions at high-profile auctions can escalate quickly, with collectors willing to spend massive sums to secure a one-of-a-kind coin. Theoretical valuations for a flawless, mint-red 1973 penny with a unique error can soar into hundreds of millions of dollars because the human drive for exclusivity and legacy is limitless. Unlike material value, which is fixed, this psychological and cultural value is dynamic, driven by fascination, passion, and the prestige of owning the impossible. Copper composition further enhances the 1973 penny's appeal. At 3.11 grams, the pre-1982 copper penny offers a tangible heft and density that modern zinc-based pennies cannot match. Copper develops a natural patina over time, ranging from warm reddish tones to deep chocolate brown. The rare pennies that retain their original mint red color are particularly prized because they indicate coins that avoided circulation and environmental wear. This preserved state is incredibly rare and contributes significantly to the coin's allure and potential market value. The journey of the 1973 penny also reflects broader economic and societal patterns. At the time, pennies were essential for everyday transactions, circulating widely across businesses, households, and institutions. They were involved in daily commerce, buying candy, paying for postage, making change in stores, and they witnessed countless ordinary moments of human life. Yet, the few coins that escape this cycle of use are extraordinary because they exist as untouched artifacts, silent witnesses to the minting process and the era in which they were created. Advancements in numismatic technology have amplified the excitement surrounding coins like the 1973 penny. High-powered magnification, digital imaging, precision weighing, and metallurgical analysis allow collectors to examine coins with unprecedented accuracy. Online databases and auction records create a global network where discoveries are shared, authenticated, and valued. Every new minting anomaly or uncirculated example adds to the growing mythology of the 1973 penny, increasing both its desirability and theoretical market value. The emotional resonance of the 1973 penny extends beyond the realm of monetary value. For many collectors, these coins evoke nostalgia, childhood memories, and personal connections to history. They are reminders of family traditions, the simple joy of saving coins, and the fascination with tangible objects that link past generations to the present. A 1973 penny can connect a child today to the life of someone in 1973, creating a bridge across decades and generations. Ultimately, the 1973 penny represents a convergence of artistry, rarity, historical significance, and human fascination. Its value is not determined solely by metal content or face denomination, but by its ability to connect collectors to history, inspire obsessive study, and ignite the imagination. A coin that survives in perfect condition, especially one with a unique minting error, becomes more than an object. It becomes a symbol of legacy, desire, and the extraordinary potential hidden within the ordinary. Each 1973 penny carries within it the story of its journey, from the mint presses to the pockets of millions, from circulation to preservation, and ultimately into the hands of those who recognize its extraordinary significance. The 1973 penny is a reminder that history can be found in the smallest objects, and that the value of a coin is measured not only in dollars but in the stories, rarity, and human fascination it embodies. Its continued allure among collectors around the world proves that even a humble 1-cent piece can capture imaginations, connect generations, and become a treasure of immeasurable potential. The story of the 1973 1-cent coin deepens when we consider the long-term preservation of coins and the extraordinary efforts collectors take to maintain their condition. Preserving a penny in mint-red, flawless condition for decades is no simple task. Environmental factors such as humidity, temperature fluctuations, and air pollutants can alter the surface of copper over time, causing toning, discoloration, or corrosion. Even the tiniest exposure to human oils from fingertips can dull a coin's luster. This is why the rare, pristine 1973 pennies that exist today are often the result of careful storage in controlled environments, sealed in protective holders, or left untouched in original mint packaging. These preservation methods are crucial to maintaining the coin's value and ensuring that future generations can experience its beauty as it was originally minted. Collectors devote incredible attention to detail when handling and evaluating coins like the 1973 penny. Each coin is examined under magnification, its surfaces inspected for scratches, die flaws, or subtle differences in the strike. The edges are scrutinized for signs of wear or damage. The color is evaluated meticulously. Coins that retain their original copper-red hue are highly prized. Even the faintest anomalies, such as a slightly off-center mint mark, a tiny die crack, or an unusual doubling effect in the lettering, can significantly increase the value of a coin. In some cases, these anomalies are unique, existing in only a handful of examples, or in some theoretical instances, a single coin in the entire world. These one-of-a-kind coins drive the fascination and obsession of the numismatic community. The theoretical market value of a perfect, error-free, or uniquely flawed 1973 penny illustrates the immense power of rarity combined with human desire. While the intrinsic copper value of the coin is minimal, its rarity and condition can elevate it to astronomical valuations, even reaching hundreds of millions of dollars in the theoretical realm. The coin's value is not determined purely by logic or material worth. It is determined by passion, competition, historical significance, and the emotional resonance that collectors attach to a unique artifact. In this way, the 1973 penny transcends its humble denomination, becoming a symbol of exclusivity, legacy, and prestige within the world of numismatics. Beyond condition and rarity, the 1973 penny also offers a window into the economic and cultural environment of the United States in the early 1970s. The nation was experiencing significant transitions: rising inflation, changes in industrial output, shifts in political leadership, and cultural evolution. The penny, as the smallest denomination of currency, was a vital component of everyday life. It was used for transactions large and small, moving silently through the hands of millions of Americans every day. A coin like this served as a tangible connector between people, places, and time, functioning as a miniature participant in the broader narrative of society. Collectors often describe the 1973 penny as a portal to history. Each coin embodies the social and economic context of the era in which it was minted. When held in the hand, it provides a tactile connection to the past, allowing collectors to imagine the world in which it first circulated. A coin that remains uncirculated or preserved in pristine condition offers an even stronger connection, as it has avoided the wear and alterations of daily use, acting as a frozen moment of history. The combination of physical preservation and historical context is what gives these coins such profound appeal. Numismatic technology and research further enhance the allure of the 1973 penny. Advances in high-resolution photography, digital microscopy, metallurgical analysis, and online auction databases allow collectors to document, authenticate, and compare coins with precision. Collectors can trace the history of a specific coin, verify its minting details, and explore anomalies with scientific accuracy. These tools have made coin collecting a more exact and competitive pursuit, where knowledge, skill, and diligence are rewarded with the discovery of rare specimens. Every newly documented coin adds to the growing mythology of the 1973 penny, reinforcing its status as a coveted object of desire. Emotional factors also play a critical role in the coin's significance. Many collectors are drawn not only by the potential financial value but by the stories and memories connected to the coin. Childhood experiences, family traditions, and the fascination with preserving pieces of history all contribute to the emotional allure. A 1973 penny can remind a collector of their first coin collection, the excitement of finding an unusual coin in circulation, or the joy of passing knowledge and artifacts to the next generation. These personal connections elevate the coin beyond mere material object, transforming it into a symbol of continuity, memory, and cultural heritage. The artistry of the coin continues to captivate as well. Abraham Lincoln's profile, meticulously sculpted by Victor David Brenner, conveys strength, dignity, and historical reverence. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse showcases architectural precision in miniature, with delicate columns, steps, and inscriptions reproduced in extraordinary detail. The tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial is visible under magnification, demonstrating the intricate craftsmanship that characterizes this classic design. Each of these artistic elements contributes to the coin's beauty, historical significance, and collectible value, particularly when preserved in uncirculated condition. Market dynamics further underscore the significance of the 1973 penny. Collectors and investors worldwide track auctions, population reports, and sales histories to identify trends and evaluate the potential of rare coins. Coins with documented provenance, exceptional condition, or unique anomalies are highly sought after and often command competitive bids at top-tier auctions. The combination of rarity, condition, historical significance, and market attention can elevate a single coin to legendary status, creating both excitement and intense competition among collectors. The 1973 penny exemplifies the duality of coins, ordinary in appearance yet extraordinary in context. In circulation, it was a small, everyday object. In preservation, it becomes a rare artifact, a tangible piece of history, and a symbol of human fascination with rarity and perfection. Its significance is amplified by the interplay of artistry, condition, history, and human desire, making it one of the most compelling coins for collectors and historians alike. Ultimately, the 1973 penny demonstrates that even the smallest and most seemingly humble objects can hold enormous significance. Its survival, design, condition, rarity, and historical context create a powerful combination that continues to captivate collectors, investors, and enthusiasts. The coin embodies the extraordinary potential hidden within ordinary objects, serving as a reminder that value is not solely monetary but also historical, emotional, and cultural. It is a symbol of perseverance, artistry, and the timeless human fascination with rarity and discovery. The 1973 1-cent coin is not merely an object to observe, it is an object that invites engagement, curiosity, and exploration. To truly appreciate its significance, one must go beyond the surface and consider the ways in which people interact with coins, the stories they generate, and the communities they form around shared passion. Collecting a 1973 penny is not simply about ownership, it is about connection. Connection to history, to artistry, to the evolution of money, and to a global network of collectors who share the same reverence for rarity and preservation. Engaging with a 1973 penny begins with observation. Holding it in hand, one feels the weight of history, literally and metaphorically. The tactile sensation of solid copper, the cool smoothness of the surfaces, the subtle ridges along the edges, and the crisp relief of Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial all contribute to an immediate sense of awe. This is not a coin that can be casually dismissed. Even the smallest details, the fine lines in the hair, the delicate columns of the memorial, the perfect alignment of the mint mark, reward careful study and encourage collectors to engage with the coin on a level that is both intellectual and emotional. It is in this engagement that the true magic of the 1973 penny is revealed. Collectors often develop rituals and practices around the examination and preservation of their coins. They use magnifying glasses or microscopes to detect flaws or anomalies, compare the coin against reference images or population reports, and document their findings meticulously. Some enthusiasts even photograph coins under varying lighting conditions to reveal subtle color variations or surface features invisible to the naked eye. Every detail matters, every observation contributes to the understanding of the coin, and every discovery generates excitement. This meticulous engagement transforms an ordinary penny into an object of fascination, intellectual challenge, and aesthetic appreciation. Beyond personal study, the 1973 penny connects individuals to broader communities. Online forums, social media groups, auction houses, and local coin clubs provide spaces where collectors share discoveries, debate valuations, and exchange knowledge. The 1973 penny becomes a focal point for discussion, analysis, and storytelling. Each collector brings a unique perspective. One may focus on historical context, another on condition and grading, while a third emphasizes rare errors and anomalies. This community engagement enhances the coin's significance, turning it from a solitary object into a shared experience, a bridge between people who are connected by curiosity, expertise, and passion. Engagement with the 1973 penny also includes exploration of its historical and economic context. By studying the events of 1973, the domestic economy, political developments, cultural shifts, and the operation of the U.S. Mint, collectors gain a deeper appreciation for the coin's journey. They learn that it was created during a period of rising inflation, social change, and global uncertainty, and that it served as both a tool of commerce and a witness to everyday life. Each scratch, mark, or toning pattern can be interpreted as a sign of the coin's passage through history, a tangible record of the ordinary moments that it touched. Engaging with the coin in this way transforms it from a static object into a living narrative, a medium through which history is experienced directly. The potential rarity of the 1973 penny adds an additional layer of engagement. Collectors are drawn to the challenge of identifying coins that may possess unique features, mint errors, die variations, or exceptional preservation, that distinguish them from millions of others. This process requires careful observation, extensive knowledge, and sometimes patience spanning decades. The thrill of discovery, the moment when a collector identifies a coin that may be one of a kind, is a powerful reward. It transforms engagement into an emotional experience, blending curiosity, anticipation, and satisfaction in a way that few other objects can achieve. Furthermore, the 1973 penny encourages engagement across generations. Parents pass down collections to children, grandparents share coins with grandchildren, and novice collectors learn from experienced enthusiasts. The coin becomes a tool for education, teaching lessons in history, economics, art, and critical observation. In this way, the 1973 penny is not just a collector's item but a conduit for learning and intergenerational connection. It fosters conversations about the past, encourages exploration of the present, and sparks imagination about the future. Each interaction with the coin reinforces its significance and expands its impact beyond the physical object itself. The excitement of potential valuation also engages collectors. The theoretical market value of a perfect 1973 penny, particularly one with a unique minting anomaly, can be astronomical. While these valuations are speculative, they capture the imagination and drive collectors to research, preserve, and seek out opportunities to acquire exceptional examples. The potential to own something that may be the rarest of its kind, a coin of unique perfection, creates intense engagement, inspiring both personal dedication and competitive participation in auctions or private sales. Here, engagement is not merely passive observation, it is active pursuit, strategy, and intellectual challenge. Finally, engagement with the 1973 penny is about appreciation of its artistry and craftsmanship. Every coin tells a story of human skill, the sculptor's vision, the engraver's precision, the mint worker's careful oversight, and the mechanics of coining presses. Observing these details, noting the subtle interplay of light and shadow, the reflection of surfaces, and the perfection of the strike, transforms a simple copper disc into an object of wonder. It is in this combination of tactile interaction, historical context, artistic appreciation, and community connection that the 1973 penny achieves its full significance. To engage with the 1973 penny is to participate in a continuum that spans decades, societies, and personal experiences. It is to hold a piece of history in your hand, to imagine the countless lives it has touched, to study the artistry of its creation, and to consider the extraordinary rarity that may elevate it to legendary status. Engagement is the bridge between the coin's humble denomination and its potential legendary status. Without the active curiosity, study, and appreciation of collectors, the 1973 penny would remain an ordinary object. Through engagement, it becomes extraordinary, a tangible connection to history, artistry, and human fascination. As we reach the conclusion of our journey through the world of the 1973 1-cent coin, it becomes clear that this small copper disc is far more than a piece of currency. It is a vessel of history, a mirror of human experience, and a testament to the enduring fascination with rarity, artistry, and preservation. From the moment it was struck in the U.S. Mint, the 1973 penny began a journey that few could have imagined, a journey through the hands of ordinary people, through decades of economic and social change, and ultimately into the passionate world of collectors and enthusiasts who recognize its extraordinary potential. Every scratch, every toning variation, every preserved detail contributes to a story that spans time and connects generations. The beauty of the 1973 penny lies not just in its artistry, nor solely in its copper composition, nor only in its potential market value. Its true significance emerges from the interplay of all these factors: the meticulous design of Lincoln's profile and the Lincoln Memorial, the skill of the minting process, the passage through countless hands over decades, and the rare instances of preservation that allow some coins to retain their original mint red brilliance. These elements combine to create an object that captivates collectors, historians, and enthusiasts alike, offering a tangible connection to the past while igniting imagination and curiosity in the present. The engagement that collectors experience with this coin is profound. It is not merely about monetary value, it is about the thrill of discovery, the intellectual challenge of identifying rare anomalies, the emotional connection to history, and the shared community of collectors worldwide. The coin inspires meticulous study, passionate debate, and personal reflection. It bridges generations, offering parents, grandparents, and children alike a means of exploring history, learning the art of observation, and cultivating a lifelong fascination with numismatics. In these ways, the 1973 penny transforms from an ordinary 1-cent piece into an artifact of enduring significance. The theoretical value of the 1973 penny, especially in a perfectly preserved condition or featuring a rare minting anomaly, demonstrates the extraordinary power of human desire. While a single penny's face value is minimal, its rarity, historical significance, and condition can elevate it to the realm of legend. The idea that a single coin could reach hundreds of millions of dollars is less about intrinsic value and more about passion, competition, and the pursuit of something unique and irreplaceable. It is a reminder that value is not fixed, it is a reflection of perception, scarcity, and the stories we attach to the objects around us. Ultimately, the 1973 penny embodies the magic of coins, the ability to carry history, to inspire curiosity, to connect generations, and to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. It is a small object that holds immense significance, a symbol of artistry, rarity, and human fascination. Each coin tells its own story, yet collectively, they represent the journey of a nation, the evolution of design, and the enduring human desire to preserve, study, and treasure objects of historical and cultural importance. It is a journey that spans decades, from mint presses to pockets, from circulation to careful preservation, and finally to the hands of collectors who recognize its enduring power. As we reflect on the 1973 penny, we see more than copper and design. We see history in miniature, the persistence of craftsmanship, and the extraordinary potential hidden in what seems, at first glance, to be a simple object. It reminds us that even the smallest, most unassuming artifacts can carry stories of immense depth and significance. It reminds us of the thrill of discovery, the connection to the past, and the value of preservation. And it reminds us that within the world of coins, as in life, what may appear ordinary often holds the potential to become extraordinary, a treasure beyond measure. The 1973 penny will continue to captivate collectors, historians, and enthusiasts for decades to come. Its story is not confined to its metal, its minting, or its rarity. It lives in the fascination it inspires, the engagement it demands, and the connections it fosters across time and generations. And in this way, the 1973 penny becomes timeless, immortalized not merely as currency, but as a symbol of human curiosity, passion, and the enduring allure of objects that carry the weight of history within their small, copper forms. The journey ends here, yet the legacy of the 1973 penny will endure, ever capturing the imagination of those who dare to look closer, study deeper, and value history in its smallest, most precious forms.